I want to have my son David say a few words, because he's my partner in our publishing company, Swordfish Chicago, which we've been carrying on for maybe 20 years now. And he also designed Balcon, and he also was responsible for getting it out and done, which is quite a feat. David's a school teacher in Deerfield, 8th grade social studies at Shepherd School.
I have colleagues here tonight. Any alumni? No alumni?
Caruso.
Caruso, there you go. Not me too. I was at alumni.
Are you going to play some music?
Well, I got some music to play for you tonight. When Dad gives me the high sign, I'll play some key songs for you guys to hear. But you know, from the small acorn comes the mighty oak. You know, Swordfish is you know, a love of ours, but it also publishes serious things. And just in the last year, 3 of our books have been accepted to the permanent collection of the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. because of their, you know, they're taking on serious topics and scholarly work. So congratulations, Bob.
Oh, thank you. The silhouette maker, the speed skater of Amsterdam, is now in the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum permanent library. That's the one that I read here in December 5th of last year. But Dave, we have a song about Winnetka this is going to be a lighthearted and short reading, but I thought maybe we'd start off with that. See if you recognize it.
I didn't know if Pops and Miles educated him about it. In fact, Miles played with some of these dudes way back in the day, gigging.
Big noise blew in from Winnetka. Stole each girlie's heart and
This is Miles. Tell him who is singing.
big noise blew in from Winnetka. Big noise blew right out again.
So Pops figured while we're in Winnetka,
their old friends crying, their hearts were breaking wet.
The drummer and the bass player wrote this song. Miles, my dear friend, played at the Black Hawk with these guys, the Bob Crosby and his Bobcats were the resident band at the Black Hawk. The drummer and the bass player wrote this song. The drummer drums it, and then he starts drumming it on the strings of the bass, and the bass player fingers it and whistles it. And I don't know if you can catch that.
There's a YouTube version of it, the riff.
Yeah.
Goes on and on and on. And, I'm not sure if you have the version.
Then we have another one that I read previously in Highland Park. That's a coffee shop up there. Oh, let me explain this. I just about knocked myself off my feet. It was, you know, so many people, so many books to sign and hands to shake, and I just went crazy. At my age, 86, I'm not set up for that. 2 days after the reading at the coffee shop in Highland Park, my right leg spasmed, my thigh and my butt. I couldn't walk. I literally could not walk. So I had 2 canes. I just could hobble along, and I've recovered completely, just about.
Yes.
And I had a epidural, which really helped me. But that's why I'm not standing around and moving around like I did in Highland Park. I'm not going to do that. But in the Balcon, our hero, Arthur, no wait a minute, Alex Rincon Pollack. He's the primary character in Balcon. Grew up in Highland Park, member of Lakeshore Country Club, lawyer, state planner, trust estates, but his firm unfortunately went bankrupt. And he had signed banknotes. They brought in a lot of big-time rainmakers. They guaranteed their salaries. They went under, and Alex is broke. The family money has all disappeared. His brothers inherited nothing. But when he was young, he lived in very high style in Highland Park. German Jews, chauffeurs, housemaids, cooks, the whole ball game. And his parents belonged to Lakeshore, but the one little catch that made them a little bit different than the Lakeshore members were that his mother was a German Jew from Uruguay. So that middle name, Rincon, sort of was like a brand, and he was affected by that, and so were his parents all their lives. The one thing, though, that brand saved him because his mother's sister's son, Hyman Schwartz Gomez, from Montevideo, became one of the leading highlight players in the world. And he was childless. He died very young. There's a wonderful statue of him at the Fronton in Miami Beach. He was quite a guy, Jaime Schwartz Gomez. And he left Arthur, not Arthur. See what you're doing to me?
Nobody leaves me.
Alex, yeah, no one leaves you anything. Just to clean up after that. He left Alex a condo in Miami Beach, free and clear. And Alex has just enough money to make the assessments, condo assessments, and just a little bit left over to live on. So that's where he is. Now, before the second song, he saves a few hundred here, a few hundred there, to go to the track. And he wins $700. Well, he goes to Gulfstream, and the bet runner at Gulfstream is a Jewish guy from Philadelphia, Steve, I think his name is.
Steve.
And he's got a buddy who serves drinks, who looks just like a young Frank Sinatra, but a very polite one. Always dressed in white with a tie. Well, Steve has a duck cut, and he's very brash, and he runs and takes your bets and places them, and if you win, he'll pay you off. Carries rolls of $100 bills. Well, and most of the bettors there are $2 bettors at Gulfstream. People from mostly New York and Boston, big flowered shirts, their wives, they're out for the day. They're just having fun. But Alex wins $200. And Steve, being such a expressive gentleman, grabs him when he pays him the $700 and twirls him around and does a dance, and he sings, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, what a little mazel will do, do, do." Now mazel is luck. Mazel tov, mazel tov. The opposite is schlemazel. You don't want that. He said, and he says, today you have the lady of luck and that's what he sings to him. Well, now play your song. 'Cause if anyone knows who's going to sing this is Benny Goodman. That's how we began Highland Park, and it went on and on and on and on. I am going to be brief tonight. It's cold, I know. I just can't believe that you came out to hear this and be with me tonight. So my hero, my protagonist, Alex Rincon Pollack, is also a literary man. He's what we would call a literateur. And Jorge Balera from Deerfield just walked in. Very nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
If you want some wine and drinks or food,
Okay, thanks.
go in there and get it. And then, anyway, we're talking about my protagonist, Alex Rincon Pollack, and he is learning to speak Spanish. He's abdicated his role as a conservative LaSalle Street lawyer completely. He's studying the guitar. He's writing a song. He sits on the balcony in the warm Miami sunlight under the tropical palms. And the title of the song is Yo Soy Una Pluma, which means I am a fountain pen. Now there's the famous bar mitzvah boy joke, you know, in the bar mitzvah the boy is supposed to stand up and say, "Today I am a man." And instead he stands up and says, "Today I am a fountain pen." So there's this famous song that Jose Feliciano sings, La Bamba.
Richie Valens.
Ricky Valens wrote it. Feliciano sings it. And it always has caught my attention because there's a verse in it that says, Yo soy marinero. I am a sailor. Capitan, capitan. Yo soy marinero. Well, my character is working to incorporate those words in his song about the bar mitzvah boy, Yo soy una pluma, and then yo no soy marinero. I'm not a sailor, pero yo soy un abogado. I'm a lawyer. Capitan, capitan. Ay, ay. Well, that goes on all through the book. He's composing this song. I think finally in the last chapter, he gets it. So that's the kind of guy he is. He also has a literary mentor, Isaac Bashevis Singer. Now, for those who may not know who he is, he died 15, 20 years ago. But he was one of the last Nobel winners, an American writer that won the Nobel. The most recent American writer that won the Nobel, and this was a trivia question in Highland Park, who's the most recent winner 20 years ago, American writer who won the Nobel for fiction? Toni Morrison. And then Isaac Singer. Now, Singer wrote in Yiddish. I mean, he came here in '38 from Poland, and he couldn't speak English. Most of his stories were published in the Jewish Daily Forward in New York, and he wrote some wonderful stories, wonderful novels. And writing in Yiddish as an American, he won the Nobel Prize. And he, at the end of his life, moved to Surfside in Miami Beach at 95th Street, 95th and Collins. Poor Mary Lou, she's been there about 7 times. Once we walked in there, he hung out at a drugstore. It was called, not Singer's Drugstore, Simone, but very close. I forget the name of the drugstore, but we went in there, and the street has been named after him. Outside the window, you see a sign, Isaac Bashevis Singer Boulevard. And it has a counter, I think it was called Sergeant's. It's like a New York cafe with people eating at this counter, chop suey or what have you, full of New Yorkers. But none of the people even recognize that this street is named after him or even know who he was. And we were there, and there was a booth with a piece of paper scotch taped on it, and someone has written, Isaac Singer was sitting here when he was advised that he won the Nobel Prize. Mazel tov. That's it. That's it. So my character, after winning the $700 at Gulfstream, he, instead of going home, he heads to 95th Street in Collins. And sure enough, sitting at the counter in the drugstore is this young woman from Brooklyn who is a graduate student at Columbia and who's writing her thesis on Singer. And she dresses as characters in the Singer stories. At that moment, I think she may have been Miss Minna from The Certificate. That's a story where the young Singer, in order to get out of Poland, and he wanted to go to Israel, he had to enter into a fictitious marriage, and so did she, because her lover had gone to Israel ahead of her, and Minna was the woman that he was going to go with. But fortunately for him, he came to America instead, because her lover from Israel came back married, and then the woman, Miss Minna, and her former boyfriend and his new wife, as a menage a trois, moved to Gdansk or someplace, the left Singer in Warsaw. Well, that's the kind of guy he was. He had, I mean, he and his well, the woman who bore his child, I guess they were married. He had one son who is alive and in Israel. They lived in this old villa outside of Warsaw. I mean, a real decrepit place with no electricity, no running water, nothing. And in order to She was a Stalinist, just gotten out of prison. He made his living by writing short stories and sending them to magazines, mostly in Paris. In order to get his checks, he had to come into Warsaw, call on another lady who got his mail. In order to get his checks, he would make love to this lady, and then his cousin was waiting for him. They had a long-standing love affair. So he was, while his father was a rabbi, and he was trained as a rabbi, and a very, very shy young man, but he was a ladies' man, a womanizer, we would call him today. And the women loved him, and he loved the ladies. So, this is the guy who, he's dead, of course, but his apparition, his ghost, meets Alex at a speed dating event in Miami. Alex sort of despairs of he's mostly meeting young women. The young woman that he met, the Miss Minna, who by the way was originally from St. Petersburg and works in Brooklyn now as a MRI assistant, and has written a concert. She's composed a concert around the sounds that an MRI makes as you go through it. Beep, 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 boop, 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 beep, beep, boop, boop, boop. That's her concert. And she wants him to listen to this, to come up to her place and listen to this concert. Well, that he isn't going to do. I mean, she also is determined to cut the Arab wire around Miami Beach, the beachfront. An Arab, as many of you know, is an enclosure that's created where Jews on the Sabbath can run ordinary errands. There are several in Chicago. Miami, I believe, has one that extends from at least 95th Street all the way down to South Beach, and it's a very like a fishing wire that you see as you go on the boardwalk all the way down. She's determined, because that particular day she's dressed as Yentl, Singer's famous Yentl, who was a young woman who dressed as a man and entered a yeshiva as a young man, and then she fell in love with one of her yeshiva students, and it was all hell to pay. But as Yentl believed in freedom, she believed in the Torah. She felt that women were oppressed in the form of Judaism that she followed, and that the Arab was just one more attempt to carry out this oppression, another vestige of the ghettoization of the Jews, and she was determined to cut it. Well, this Alex, his cousin, Hyman Schwartz Gomez, was very instrumental in creating the Arab in Miami Beach. And he was very much against Yentl cutting the Arab wire, even though he himself had recently cut the wires in the hotel across the street, whose loudspeaker was thudding at night with rock, thud, 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 thud. So he, who liked to sleep on his Balcon, he couldn't sleep. So he got himself a little surgical scissors and went over there. He knew the manager of the hotel, another woman, and he had a pass to go swimming every day. So he snuck in there and trailed that wire down in the bushes and cut. he cut that. But he called himself the Mole of 28th Street. Mole is a man who does circumcisions. My father and his brother used to call each other moles all the time. But Miss St. Petersburg, she wants him to help her cut the Arab along the beachfront, and he won't do it. But he tells her how she could do it, and that is to get some bamboo palm fronds, which are lying all over around Florida under the trees, and affix them to a pair of scissors, and then, you know, hold them up, and she does it. So I don't know why, or as the author, they engage in all this brisk cutting, but they do. And Mr. Alex Rincon, his favorite writers are Woody Allen and Gogol, and I don't know if you know the story of Gogol called The Nose, where the man is a butcher, I think, and unfortunately he drinks a lot, and one day he cut off the nose of one of his customers by mistake, and at breakfast in the morning, having his rye bread with the coffee, he bites into it. He's eating his customer's nose. That's typical Gogol. And he's got to find the officer who was a member of the Tsar's, an official under the Tsar in St. Petersburg. Got to find him and get that nose back to him. But in the interim, the nose develops a life of its own and starts running around St. Petersburg in a braided officer's uniform, and is having a great time. Well, that's Gogol. And another great story of his was called The Overcoat, where this poor clerk worked at a state ministry, and he finally got enough money to buy a new overcoat, and within a day it's stolen. And in the rest of the story, he turns into a wraith who stands on the bridges over the Neva in St. Petersburg and plucks overcoats off of officers. Well, this is and then of course Gogol's great novel, Lost Souls?
Dead Souls.
Dead Souls. I got my man here in case I make a mistake. The main character of Dead Souls is Chichikov. And Chichikov runs around Russia in a troika, and when he's looking to buy dead souls from landowners. In Russia, at that time, the number of serfs that you had on the land gave value to your estate. And he has determined that if he bought the serfs that were dead, they were of no use to the landowner, and they would take whatever they could get for the dead serfs, and he would be able to go to the banks and get money to buy estates of his own, because he owned all these serfs before the next tax assessment rolls were developed, when they would determine that these serfs really didn't exist. So Chichikov was a man, he was really a rebellious man, and after my heart. I mean, he was the kind of guy that carried his snuff with little pieces of violet petals in the bottom of the snuff container. And he romanced ladies all through Russia, etc., etc., etc. Well, poor Gogol, Alexandra, who has left but works at the store and was here a year ago. I've known her now for a year. She was she took her degree in Russian literature, and I asked her if she knew how old Gogol was and what he died of. Well, he died at 42, and he died of megalomania, whatever that is. But he was very depressed, and he never did finish Dead Soul. And he always called it his poema, his poem. Okay, that leads me to Woody Allen. Woody Allen is a lot like Gogol. I mean, Gogol would have a character who would put on his three-cornered hat, but he wouldn't put the hat on, he'd put the hat box on. So even at my age, and I still can laugh at his, Woody Allen, his characters were like in Persky the Magician. Anyone know that story? It won the National Literature Award for fiction. And it's about this professor in Brooklyn who doesn't get along very well with his wife. And he hires a magician in Brooklyn who has a magic, like a box. Woody is, as you know in his movies, the guys are always getting into boxes. And then someone turns a crank. Well, this guy, Persky, for a double sawbuck, how much is that? $20, I think. You get in the box, he'll introduce you to any literary heroine in the world you'd like to meet. So he wants to meet, the professor wants to meet,
I can't remember that song.
yeah, I can't remember her name.
It's not Emma Bovary.
Emma Bovary, right. So Persky sends him, he's walking around the hedgerows of Burgundy with Emma Bovary. Now the problem is how to get back. He brings her back to New York, puts her up in the plaza, and then he can't find Persky. He can't send her back. I love that kind of stuff. And then the last Woody Allen story was The Whore of Mensa. Anyone remember that? This woman, you know, she's a call girl, but she doesn't give you sex. She gives you literature. So if you call her, she'll read Jane Austen to you. Or if you want a twosome, she'll bring a girlfriend, and they'll read Jane Austen and Toni Morrison, you know. That's Woody's idea of a twosome, The Whore of Mensa. Okay, so by this time, Alex has endured, you know, a lot. And he decides he's going to go to the speed dating event in Bal Harbour. Very fancy shopping center. Makes, you know, like Northbrook Court, but even fancier. Poi ponds and Harry Winston, you know, with diamonds, and a lot of ladies all in black with black stiletto heels. Everyone's from either New York or South America. And he does sign up for the speed dating event. He gets to meet 10 women, has 2 minutes with each. And I'm not going to read that, but he meets some real interesting ladies. And but at the end, he meets a woman that he really likes, who works in a bookstore right in the shopping center. She's from Detroit. Her name is Elise Greenberg. And he notices, though, that one of the elderly gentlemen, he's 65, and most of the gentlemen there, the speed dating events are in their 70s and 80s. Most of them are on walkers. And many of the ladies have Haitian nurses standing beside them. Well, one of the gentlemen that he meets, he looks at him is a dead ringer for Isaac Singer. The horn-rimmed glasses, the wrinkled seersucker suit, the Panama hat, the red face, and this gentleman is trying to pinch the behind of the Haitian nurse, of the lady, who gets very angry at him and starts screaming at him in some Haitian patois, and he takes off through the bushes, and Alex follows him because he thinks this is Singer, for God's sake, the apparition Singer. So he follows him down the street, down Harding Avenue. Everyone's got a yarmulke on. It's all Hasidic, and the kids are eating dinner with their folks, mostly New York, red, white, all colors, yarmulkes, babies, lots of babies. The Singer they recognize him, but he doesn't say anything to them. They've just pushed their way through, and they wind up in an ice cream shop, and then they go out and sit in a tiki hut, and Singer, he asks him, "Are you who I think you are?" And he won't admit it, but obviously that's who he is. He says he comes back once in a while just to nose around Surfside, go speed dating, maybe get some, have a nosh at the bakery and the deli. He doesn't require any money, of course. He just, and then he disappears. So, what he does do, though, for my Alex, is that Alex heads back to the track, this time with Elise Greenberg, the woman he met at speed dating. And Alex won the $700 betting on a horse called Royal Beauty. Royal Beauty is running, and that's why he's going back. Elise, who works at the bookstore, they meet in Bal Harbour, take the bus out there. But while he's watching Royal Beauty come out of the paddock, head to the track, this elderly gentleman next to him, it's Singer, says, it's not bet on Moishe's trifecta. Now Moishe is a one of the
Moishe's picnic or something?
guy who picks in the green sheet and the orange sheet, the daily racing form. They have these guys who pick. Moishe's one of them. There's consensus. There's L. There's this and that. So Moishe is picked for the trifecta in that race. Moishe's Pippic. Now Moishe's Pippic means belly button. Every Jewish man is a Moshe Pippic. You're not such a great whiz that you think you are. You're just an ordinary guy, a Moshe Pippic. His next one is Moshe's Dybbuk. The Dybbuk, as you all know, Singer loved Dybbuks. They're devils that infest your blood, and you can't get rid of them, I don't know if he believed in it. He believed that they were alive, that they would cause you to do certain things, Satanism, etc. And then the third, I can never remember.
Pushki.
It's the Pushki, yeah, Moshe's Pushki. What's a Pushki? Pushki is a little bank that you keep in the house for the poor. You put coins in it. Moshe's Pushki. That's the trifecta. Moshe's Pippic, Moshe's Pushki, Moshe's Dybbuk. Now, of the $700 that Alex has, he has $200 left. He needs $100 to pay for his day at the races with Elise and tip Steve and Joey, the helper. So he's got $100. I think he bets 90 on Royal Beauty to win, and a $10 trifecta on Moshe's Pushki, Pipip, and Dybbuk. And the trifecta means that those horses have got to run 1, 2, 3 in any order of the 3 that you have. It's a box, what they call a trifecta box. Not that I know anything about racing, but I've learned all this from Steve. Steve will tell you when it comes to take your bet. So he takes the bet, and lo and behold, Royal Beauty, which leads all the way around, because when he won the $700, she led by 20 lengths. This time she leads initially by 20 lengths, and then begins to fade. And at the end, shoom, she's out of the money. And he looks at the numbers. It's the Moishi trifecta. He's won $10,000. $10,000. So, I'm going to end this now. I do 2 things. I'm going to read a little bit of his encounter with Isaac Singer after he's won the 10,000. And then I always end with a little harmonica solo. I tested my harmonica. I have it in my bag if I can find it. It has one reed that isn't working so well. And I had the choice of going over to the Deerfield music store and buying a new $35 harmonica, which I considered, but then they don't even open till 2 o'clock. And by that time, I had to get ready for all this, so I didn't do it. And I'll have to use this one, which I bought last year. But I'm going to air it out a little bit, so maybe it will blow. Okay, Balcon. Not very long. I know my daughter would love to give me the cut sign. I'm going to be 86 in 2 weeks. You know.
Nice things. Just a little.
Succinct.
Succinct.
Before I read it, you got to explain a little bit about. Do you people know of Ezra Pound? Yeah, he was a poet, an American poet at the time of, well, he's thought to have been primarily responsible for bringing T.S. Eliot's work into being. Eliot was a bank clerk in London, an American from St. Louis, but he worked and wrote in London, and Pound was in Paris, and he worked with Eliot on all his great poems. But and wrote some very lovely poems himself. He was a leading figure in the expatriate movement in Paris. But something happened to him, and he became mentally ill, Ezra Pound. And during the war, he stayed in Rome as a radio commentator with virulent anti-Semitic broadcasts, constantly broadcasting about the Jews. He was insane, and eventually he wound up in Washington, St. Elizabeth Hospital for the insane. But he did write one good poem, and there's one line from it that I want to see if I can find. The line is, "And I would rather have of my sweet, though rose leaves that die of grieving, than do high deeds in Hungary, to pass all men's believing." Well, Alex, after he won the 10,000, he always wanted to find out more about what happened to the Jews of Hungary, and he, let me just see, I have to find that. Raoul Wallenberg was the great hero of the Holocaust in Hungary. Wallenberg was a young Swedish diplomat who, when the Hungarians were killing the Jews and the Germans and taking them to Auschwitz, and Adolf Eichmann had come to Budapest. Even though the Russians were right on the outskirts of Budapest, the Hungarians, the so-called Red Arrow, Hungarian militia, and the Germans, they killed 550,000 Jews. And Wallenberg saved thousands of people by issuing to them Swedish identity cards, wherein he would take them under the protection of the Swedish government. And he established blocks of residence apartments that he bought through the Swedish legation, where they could live. He opened hospitals. He would follow the trains out to Auschwitz, take people off the trains, fought the Germans, hand and fist, saved thousands of people. And eventually, at the very end of the war, when the Russians came in,